So, um, I want you to try something for a second. Just close your eyes.
Okay.
Imagine you are standing right at center ice.
Yeah.
You can hear like 20,000 people just screaming your name.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The lights are absolutely blinding. The air is freezing cold, and your body is just wrecked.
Complete destroyed.
Right. Your knees feel like they are literally filled with gravel. Your back is screaming at you because you have spent the last 15 years of your life acting as a human battering ram on ice skates.
Which is pretty much what professional hockey is.
Exactly. But you are the GOAT. You're the legend. You have the millions in the bank, the fame, the Stanley Cups. But the very second that final buzzer sounds on your entire career, where do you go?
I mean, I feel like most people would say a beach somewhere or, a penthouse in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Somewhere with 24/7 room service and literally zero responsibilities.
Yeah, I think so, right.
Yeah.
But in the story we are covering today, our hero does not do that. He packs up and goes to a dirt road in Montana.
A very specific dirt road.
Yes. He goes straight back to the place that saved his life when he was just this terrified, angry 15-year-old kid. And what's waiting for him there isn't just, peace and quiet.
Definitely not.
Waiting there is his absolute best friend, the one single woman he has been completely obsessed with for 2 decades, but is way too terrified to actually touch.
Because the stakes are just incredibly high.
So high. If he crosses that line and messes it up, he doesn't just lose a girlfriend.
He loses the only family he has ever actually known.
Exactly. And that is the deep end of the pool we are jumping into today. We are doing a deep dive into Safe Haven. It's the first book in the Triple Creek Ranch series by Kristen Proby.
Which is such a fascinating book to dissect.
It really is. I mean, on the surface, sure, it looks like this cozy cowboy romance with a hockey twist.
Yeah.
But once you actually get into the text, it is this incredibly heavy, beautiful look at trauma and recovery and what it actually means to be a protector in a modern sense.
Heavy is definitely the right word for it. But it is wrapped up in this very comforting package. We have the full text of the novel to work with today, and the thing that struck me right out of the gate is the contrast.
The contrast between the two worlds.
Right. You have this high-octane, violent, glitzy world of professional hockey in Seattle on one side.
Yeah.
And then you have the grounding, rugged, completely consistent reality of Triple Creek Ranch in Montana on the other.
It's like 2 different universes.
It is. And our mission today is to trace the journey of Ryker James, our hero, as he tries to basically bridge those 2 worlds without breaking apart himself.
So let's jump right in. We really have to start exactly where the book stays.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the prologue of Safe Haven just hits you like a freight train.
It really does. It doesn't pull any punches.
We are not meeting Ryker, the superstar athlete, yet. We are meeting Ryker, the 15-year-old delinquent.
Well, and delinquent is how society is viewing him at that moment. But Proby's text makes it very clear that Hattie isn't who he is internally. So we open with Ryker and this other boy, Gideon, and they are sitting in the back of a car being driven by a social worker named Reggie.
And they are leaving a place called the boys' home. But Ryker, in his own internal monologue, he calls it Hell House?
Hell House. I mean, that is not exactly subtle terminology.
No, it paints a very vivid picture immediately.
It really does. And you have to look at the physical somatic details Proby uses in this scene. These boys are not just sitting quietly in the back seat. They are covered in bruises.
Because they literally just got into a fist fight with each other.
Exactly. Gideon punched Ryker in the thigh, and apparently Ryker had previously knocked Gideon out completely. They are enemies at this point.
Absolute enemies.
But more importantly than the rivalry, they are both in a massive state of hyper-arousal. They are scanning their environment for threats constantly.
Because in their world, up to this point, adults are threats. Structure is a threat. Anything unfamiliar is dangerous. So when Reggie pulls the car up to this massive, beautiful log house with the Montana mountains in the background, Ryker's first thought isn't, wow, this is pretty.
No, his thought is, am I dreaming?
Right. Because if it's too good to be true, that means it's a trap. It means it's dangerous.
That is such a key observation. And this brings us to the psychological concept of a pattern interrupt.
Oh, I love this part. Break that down for us.
So they get out of the car, and out from the house comes Ray. Ray is the owner of Triple Creek Ranch. Now, Riker's totally bracing himself. He expects a sneer. He expects a lecture.
He expects to be treated like a problem, like unwanted cargo.
Because that is the only pattern he has ever known from male authority figures. But Ray completely interrupts that pattern. He doesn't yell. He doesn't recoil from these bruised, angry kids.
He just looks at them.
The text specifically notes that Ray gives Riker a firm handshake and looks him steady in the eye. He is sizing him up, sure, but there is absolutely no cruelty in it.
To respect.
Yes. And that moment forces Riker's brain to completely recalibrate. It's a huge signal to his nervous system that the rules of engagement here have changed.
And then we get the absolute knockout punch of the prologue. Debbie.
Oh, Debbie.
Ray's wife. She comes out, and she is described as this tiny, sort of fairy-like woman. And Ryker is this tough, scrapped-up, angry kid, fresh out of Hell House. And this tiny woman just walks right up to him and hugs him.
Which is incredibly jarring for him.
He literally notes in his head that the hug makes him want to cry.
Which is a massive admission for a teenage boy who is desperately trying to perform toughness.
Oh, totally. And she tells him he's way too skinny, and she promises to put some meat on his bones with homemade fried chicken.
It's the most basic, primal form of nurturing imaginable, feeding someone. It hits the absolute rock bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs immediately.
Food and shelter.
Right. She is establishing physiological safety instantly.
But hold on, because the text is very careful to show this isn't just some fluffy, nice people taking the orphans kind of story.
Right. It's not a fairy tale.
Ray steps in and sets a boundary right then and there. And I really think this boundary defines the entire moral compass of the whole book. The one rule.
The one rule. This is absolutely crucial to understanding Ryker as a man later on. Ray points directly at Debbie, and he tells these two volatile boys, he says, "This is my wife, the love of my life."
Yep.
And he says, "No one sasses her on this ranch. You treat her with kindness and respect."
He is dead serious about it, too. He's basically saying you look at her sideways and you are packed up and gone.
But let's analyze why he does that. He isn't just protecting Debbie. She's clearly capable of handling herself.
Right.
He is actually modeling something for these boys that they have likely never, ever seen before. He is modeling protective masculinity.
That is such a good way to phrase it.
He is showing them that being a strong man, and Ray is a cowboy, he is undeniably a tough, strong man, isn't about dominating people who are smaller than you.
Right.
It's about using your strength to safeguard the vulnerable, to show respect. And he immediately extends that same role to his niece, Willow.
Which perfectly brings us to the entrance of the queen herself.
Willow's like the catalyst for everything.
She comes riding up on a horse named Apple. Her blonde hair is flying everywhere. And she just looks like a literal princess to these boys.
And this right here is the exact moment the three amigos dynamic is born, even though they don't know it yet.
Yeah, they have no idea.
You have Ryker and Gideon on one side. They are dark, traumatized, super wary of the entire world.
Just covered in emotional armor.
Exactly. And then you have Willow. She is sunny. She's happy. She has grown up completely safe and loved, and she just effortlessly bridges the gap between them. She even predicts to her uncle that they will all be best friends by the end of the week.
And she was completely right.
She was.
But I want to pause on the why here. Why did this specific place, Triple Creek Ranch, work for these two boys when the entire foster system failed them?
That's the core question of the prologue.
Ryker actually reflects on this much later in the book.
Yeah.
He says that for the first time in his entire life, they weren't hungry and they weren't scared.
And that goes right back to the hierarchy of needs. You simply cannot form emotional bonds. You cannot learn. You cannot grow into a functioning adult if your brain is stuck in survival mode.
You're just operating on pure adrenaline.
Exactly. The ranch finally provided psychological safety. Ray and Debbie didn't just hand them a room to sleep in. They gave them a standard of behavior, and they backed it up with unconditional support.
Yeah.
And that very specific environment is what allowed Ryker and Gideon to finally drop their shields just enough to stop fighting each other and actually become brothers.
Okay, so that sets the foundation. That's the trauma bond, the origin story. Now, the book flashes forward 20 years.
A massive jump.
And this is where the actual deep dive of the main plot gets really interesting, because we get to see the result of that upbringing. Ryker James is now 35 years old.
He's the captain of the Seattle Blizzard.
He is an absolute legend in the NHL. But he is completely falling apart.
The physical description of Ryker in the present-day timeline is just brutal. And I really appreciate that Proby doesn't gloss over this reality.
Yeah, she doesn't pretend he's fine.
Right, because we so often see the athlete hero in romances portrayed as this invincible, perfect god. But Ryker outright admits his knees feel like they are literally exploding.
His back is completely stiff.
He mentions feeling like an 80-year-old man when he tries to get out of bed in the morning.
It is the literal physical cost
Well,
of greatness, right?
But
He sacrificed his body for the career.
he did.
But the real inciting incident for the plot isn't his knees finally giving out. It's a phone call.
The worst kind of phone call.
Ray, the man he calls dad, has had a massive stroke.
And he passes away. This is the ultimate catalyst that just shatters the status quo for all of them.
It breaks their entire world.
Because Ray was the anchor. He was the North Star for Ryker, for Gideon, and for Willow. So when Ryker returns to the ranch for the funeral, the sheer weight of that grief pushes him to make a decision he has probably been quietly delaying for years.
He decides to hang up his skates. He's retiring.
And this is where we get introduced to the closest thing this story has to a villain.
Oh, Andy.
Right. Not some cartoonish, mustache-twirling bad guy. Something much more realistic and insidious. Andy, his sports agent.
Andy is just the worst. He's so gross.
He perfectly represents the pure commodification of the human being.
Yes.
To Andy, Ryker isn't a grieving son. He isn't a man in intense physical pain who needs to rest. He is, to quote Riker's own realization, an ATM machine.
A literal cash cow.
Andy is constantly pushing. He wants one more contract, one more endorsement deal, one more year of just grinding Riker's bones into dust so he can collect his commission check.
I have to say, the scene where Ryker finally just shuts him down is incredibly satisfying.
It's a great moment of agency.
Ryker just kind of looks around at his life and realizes, I have the millions, I have the fame, I absolutely do not need this guy or this pressure anymore. He just needs to go home to Montana. And I think this decision really highlights Riker's core personality type, which is he is a fixer.
Absolutely. That is his primary trauma response.
Explain that connection, because I think it's fascinating.
So, when you grow up in a chaotic, abusive environment like Ryker did before the ranch, one of the main ways children try to survive is by trying to control everything around them.
Right. If I manage everything, nothing bad can happen.
Exactly. You try to make sure everyone else is okay so the boat doesn't rock. As an adult, Ryker does this with his wealth. He pays for everything. He manages everyone's problems.
He's a provider on steroids.
Because he couldn't save his biological mother from the abuse she suffered, so he spends his entire adult life subconsciously trying to save everyone else he loves.
That makes perfect sense.
Returning to the ranch after Ray dies is his way of trying to fix the massive gaping hole that Ray left behind. He wants to step into that protector role for the family.
And speaking of people in his family who desperately need fixing, or at least a significant amount of help, let's talk about Willow.
Yes, let's talk about Willow.
She is all grown up now,
Mm-hmm.
and she has this super interesting career. She's working full-time as an audiobook narrator and voice actor.
Which, just as a side note, is a fantastic narrative detail by the author. It allows for this really great meta-commentary where Ryker casually admits that he buys and listens to absolutely all of her audiobooks.
Okay, wait, can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Is that deeply romantic, or is that a little bit, I don't know, stalker-ish?
In the real world, it might be a bit of a gray area, maybe.
Yeah.
But in the context of a romance novel, it is incredibly romantic. You have to think about the intense intimacy of that action.
Okay.
Ryker travels constantly for the NHL. He is always on planes. He is lonely in sterile hotel rooms across the country. And he literally puts headphones on just to have her voice in his ear in the dark.
Oh, when you put it like that.
It's his way of being close to her when he cannot physically be in the same room. It proves that she is his ultimate comfort object. She grounds him.
Okay, I'll buy that. It is actually very sweet. But back to Willow's reality,
Mm-hmm.
she is kind of drowning right now.
She is incredibly overwhelmed.
Because she isn't just sitting in a booth narrating romance novels all day. She is also single-handedly raising her teenage nephew, Aiden. And the family tree here is a bit of a twisted mess, isn't it?
It requires a bit of an explanation, yes. So Willow has a half-sister named Sabrina,
Right.
but Sabrina is also Riker's biological half-sister.
Okay.
So Ryker and Willow technically share a sibling, but they have absolutely no blood relation to each other.
Which is important for the romance part.
Very important. Now, Sabrina, unfortunately staying very true to the Hell House legacy of terrible parenting, completely abandoned her son, Aiden, years ago.
Just dropped him off and vanished.
Exactly. So Willow, who was quite young herself at the time, has been acting as a single mother to this kid since he was only 5 years old.
And now Aiden is a teenager, and he is going totally off the rails.
He is deep in rebellion mode. He's getting into physical fights. He's getting suspended from school. He is starting to hang out with a really bad crowd in town.
And Willow is just desperately trying to manage this.
While also driving constantly back and forth between her own house in Missoula and the ranch to help Ryker deal with Ray's estate.
She is burning the candle at both ends and the middle.
She is exhausted.
And Ryker sees this happening. And because he is a fixer, like we talked about, he doesn't just pat her on the back and say, hey, let me know if I can help out at all.
No, that is not his style.
He takes completely over. He executes this massive, grand gesture that I really want to unpack because I thought it was kind of genius.
Oh, the recording booth.
Yes. He builds her a recording booth.
This is a prime textbook example of what romance readers very affectionately refer to as competence porn.
Competence porn. That sounds slightly scandalous?
I promise it is very safe for work.
Okay, good.
It's just the idea that there is absolutely nothing sexier to a reader than a character who is incredibly hyper-competent at solving a difficult problem.
I get it.
Ryker doesn't just buy her a nice new microphone or something. The text goes into detail about how he constructs a state-of-the-art, entirely soundproof recording booth directly inside the ranch house.
He does the research on the insulation, the ventilation, so she doesn't sweat in there, the perfect acoustics.
Exactly. He completely engineers a permanent solution to her career logistics problem.
Because he wants her to stay at the ranch.
Right. He effectively removes her only excuse. She can no longer say, well, I can't move to the ranch with you because I need to do my studio work back in Missoula.
He literally brings the studio to her.
It is honestly a little bit manipulative.
A tiny bit.
But it is entirely benevolent manipulation.
Yeah.
It's him silently saying, I want you here with me, and I will physically move mountains to make it effortless for you.
And once he solves the career problem, he immediately pivots to fixing the Aiden situation.
Yes.
And this is where that father-figure dynamic really kicks into high gear. There's this one scene where Aiden is acting out pretty badly, and he actually punches a wall right near Willow.
It's a very tense moment.
And Ryker, it's like a switch flips inside him.
He completely channels Ray in that exact moment, instantly.
He does?
He invokes the one rule, he gets right in Aiden's face and tells him, essentially, you do not scare her. You do not disrespect her in my house.
He draws that hard line in the sand.
He establishes a firm boundary of respect for women that Aiden has likely never experienced from a stable male figure in his entire life.
But the genius part is that he doesn't just scream at the kid and ground him. He gives him a job.
That is the crucial pivot, because just punishing a rebelling, angry teenager usually just makes them 10 times angrier.
Right, they just push back harder.
Ryker knows this intuitively, so he gives Aiden purpose instead. He puts him to work on the ranch. Real, exhausting manual labor.
Fixing the fences, taking care of the massive animals.
And through the narrative, we watch Aiden's character arc completely shift. He goes from this sullen, closed-off, angry kid to a young man who is actually starting to find pride in what his own two hands can accomplish.
And more importantly, he finds real connection. There's a quiet little moment later where Gideon comes back to visit.
Gideon, who is now a Secret Service agent, by the way.
Which is such a cool career choice for him.
It totally fits his hypervigilant personality.
Absolutely. So Gideon is visiting, and the three of them, Ryker, Gideon, and Aiden, are just sitting around the kitchen eating protein waffles.
It seems like such a throwaway detail, protein waffles, but it actually matters so much.
Why is that?
It's a very specific, mundane type of male bonding. Aiden sits there and slowly realizes that these massive, intimidating men, Ryker and Gideon, they aren't going to leave him.
Right.
His own mother left him. His father is totally out of the picture, but these two guys, they show up, they stay, they eat breakfast with him.
Yeah.
And that consistent presence cures a child's abandonment wound far better than any therapy session ever could.
It really is beautiful to watch unfold. But okay, we have to pivot and address the absolute elephant in the room here.
Add the romance.
The romance. The three amigos dynamic. Ryker, Gideon, and Willow. We learned that Ryker has been secretly in love with Willow since he was literally 15 years old.
A very long time.
And Willow has spent her entire adult life comparing every single man she dates to Ryker, and obviously they all fail the test.
Of course they do.
So I just had to play devil's advocate for a minute. 20 years. 20 years of pining. I totally understand the fear of loss, but at some point, doesn't that cross the line from being cautious into just being cowardice? Or maybe just romantic inertia?
It's really easy to see it that way from the outside looking in.
I mean, 20 years is a long time to wait to make a move.
It is. But you really have to look at the specific stakes of the found family trope here. In a normal, everyday relationship, if you date your friend and you break up, what happens? You lose a girlfriend.
Maybe things are awkward for a while. You might lose a couple of mutual friends.
Right. But here, if Ryker and Willow cross that line and it blows up in their faces...
Then Thanksgiving is ruined forever.
Way worse than Thanksgiving. They lose their entire history. You have to remember, Ryker has literally no other family on Earth.
That's true. Ray is gone.
Willow is the sole repository of all of his good memories. She is the witness to his entire life becoming good.
Oh, wow.
If he taints that relationship with a failed romance, he is effectively an orphan all over again.
He goes right back to being that lonely kid in Hell House.
Exactly. And that is an intensely paralyzing fear. His hesitation isn't about sex, it's about avoiding absolute existential loneliness.
Okay, that hits a lot harder when you frame it like that. So his internal monologue isn't just, I'm scared she'll reject me. It's, I'm terrified I will lose my only home.
Precisely. And that's exactly why the romantic tension between them is dialed up so high. Like when he affectionately calls her Trouble, which is his specific nickname for her throughout the book.
Yeah, he says it all the time.
He isn't just being cute and flirty. He is subconsciously acknowledging that she really is trouble for him.
She's a threat.
She is a massive threat to his carefully constructed safety because she holds the power to completely destroy his world just by walking away from him.
But the dam has to break eventually. They're living in the same house.
Oh.
And it really starts fracturing with these small domestic moments, like the kitchen scene.
Oh, classic forced proximity trope.
Yes. Ryker's just helping her reach something from a high shelf. The physical space between them suddenly shrinks down to nothing.
And we get to see this massive shift in Ryker's internal monologue.
Yeah, he kind of snaps.
He goes straight from, I absolutely must protect this platonic friendship at all costs, to, I literally cannot stop myself from touching her. He becomes very overtly possessive.
And then right after that, we get the storm scene, which honestly felt incredibly intimate to me, even though it wasn't a sexual scene at all.
It is pure emotional intimacy.
Willow has this intense phobia of thunderstorms.
Which is very common, but it really debilitates her.
The power goes out at the ranch. Thunder is just shaking the entire log house, and she accidentally cuts her finger in the pitch dark.
And Ryker immediately goes to find her.
Right. And he doesn't mock her fear at all. He doesn't tell her she's overreacting. He just quietly cleans the cut on her finger, bandages her up, and literally just holds her in the dark bathroom.
It perfectly highlights his ultimate role as the protector.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what her deepest vulnerabilities are, and he just instinctively steps in to shield her from them.
It's so tender.
It creates this profound level of safety, and the narrative is showing us that because she trusts him completely with her irrational fear, she is soon going to be able to trust him completely with her body.
It makes the physical intimacy feel entirely inevitable.
Exactly.
And that inevitability finally comes to a massive head when they travel to Seattle. Ryker has to go back to the city to officially announce his retirement to the press, and he basically drags Willow and Aiden along with him.
And this trip is the catalyst they needed. It forcefully takes them out of the safe little ranch bubble in Montana and dumps them right into Ryker's flashy world.
Willow finally sees him acting as the captain.
She sees the crazy fans, the insane wealth, the high status.
And then, at this big charity gala they attend, Ryker sees something he absolutely hates.
He spots Sean North.
Sean North. The absolute worst timing for this guy to show up.
He's a British audiobook narrator. He's a colleague of Willow's.
And he is very charming.
Very charming. And he is very openly flirting with Willow at this gala. And Ryker he completely malfunctions.
Jealousy is a hell of a drug, isn't it?
It really is. Seeing another man actively, confidently pursue Willow just violently snaps the last thread of Ryker's restraint.
He can't handle it.
He is forced to actively claim his territory, He finally realizes that the acute pain of watching her be with someone else is actually greater than his deep-seated fear of losing her as a friend.
And that realization leads directly to the office scene.
Oh,
They get
yes.
back to Riker's Seattle penthouse, and finally, the gloves completely come off. He basically lifts her onto the desk.
It is a very explosive scene.
But what I loved most about it wasn't even the physical part. It was the dialogue. It wasn't just him saying, "Oh, I want you so badly."
No, it was a full declaration of permanence.
Yes, Riker looks at her and says, I have the quote here. He says, "It doesn't matter who was here before. There is no one before you or after."
He is deliberately rewriting his own romantic history in that moment.
Exactly. Because we know he has a Playboy past.
Yeah.
The book acknowledges he had a lot of puck bunnies.
But he is telling her that all of that past is totally irrelevant now. He is committing to a permanent, exclusive future with her right then and there. It's the final shift from holding back out of fear to being completely all in.
It is so intense. And just when you read that and think, okay, great, happily ever after achieved, the external world immediately tries to blow the whole thing up.
Enter Andy again.
The scumbag agent strikes back.
It's a very classic blackmail plot device. Andy, out of pure spite and desperation, leaks a bunch of photos of Riker's past promiscuity directly to Willow.
He sends them right to her phone.
He is actively trying to shame her. He wants to make her feel inadequate and insecure, hoping it will drive a massive wedge between them so he can isolate Riker and get him back under his control.
Now, as someone who reads a lot of romance, I was bracing myself here. In a lot of novels, this is exactly where the dreaded miscommunication trope rears its ugly head.
Oh, absolutely.
Normally, Willow would see the photos, pack her bags in tears, leave a vague note on the counter, and we'd have to suffer through 50 pages of unnecessary angst.
But Proby completely subverts that expectation.
Thank goodness she does.
And this is exactly where that 20-year Friends First foundation literally saves the relationship. Willow does not run away.
She stays put.
She stays, and she directly confronts the pain. She shows him the phone and basically says, look, this really hurts me to look at.
She actually communicates her insecurity instead of hiding it.
Right. And Riker's response to her honesty is just perfect. He doesn't get defensive at all. He doesn't roll his eyes and say, you're being crazy. That was years ago.
He entirely validates her feelings.
He reassures her completely. He promises to do whatever it takes to, quote, wipe it from her mind.
Because they already have 20 solid years of deep trust built up, they are able to navigate this manufactured conflict in a genuinely healthy way.
It's actually a really great clinical example of a secure attachment style emerging from two people who have historically been very avoidant and insecure.
It was so refreshing to read. But Andy isn't the only threat they have to face. Right after that, we get a massive life or death crisis involving Gideon.
Right. Gideon is over in D.C.
He's on the Secret Service detail protecting the president's daughter, Lena. And things go horribly wrong. Gideon gets shot.
And this moment in the narrative brilliantly emphasizes the strict limitations of Riker's power as a fixer.
Because he can't fix this.
Exactly. Riker is fundamentally a man of action. When he gets the news, he immediately wants to fire up the private jet, fly to D.C., and probably physically beat up the shooter himself.
He wants to control the situation.
But Gideon, calling from his hospital bed, strictly forbids him from coming.
And this is where Willow has to step up and be the anchor. She looks at Riker and tells him he has to stay in Montana. She says, Aiden, I need you right here.
She forces him to confront a really hard, uncomfortable truth. He cannot fix the past.
Right.
He couldn't save his mom from his abusive father. He couldn't save Ray from the stroke. And he cannot magically fix Gideon's bullet wound.
But he can be present.
Exactly. He can be fully present for the family he has right in front of him. It's a huge, crucial lesson for Riker in finally accepting his own human limitations.
He has to learn to value his presence over his utility.
That's a great way to put it. He isn't just an ATM or a bodyguard. He is a partner and a father.
So Riker listens to her, and he stays at the ranch.
Yeah.
But the universe just really, really wants to test this guy's blood pressure.
It really does.
Because right after that, we hit the main climax of the book with Aiden.
The horse scene.
It starts out so picturesque. It's a beautiful sunny day. Aiden's out riding a horse named Sunflower. Everything feels peaceful.
And then the intruders arrive.
Just a bunch of dumb, entitled college kids.
They are hardcore fans looking for the famous NHL legend Ryker James. They brazenly trespass on the private ranch property, they make a ton of noise, and they completely spook the horse.
And Aiden is violently thrown off.
It's incredibly chaotic.
My heart actually stopped reading this part. Aiden dislocates his shoulder. He's screaming in pain. But this time, Ryker doesn't panic. He handles it flawlessly.
He takes complete control of the emergency. He calls the ambulance. He furiously manages the idiot intruders to keep them away.
And the scene inside the ambulance is actually a really significant callback.
Yes, the Disney World story.
The narrative briefly mentions a shared history they have. A story about a disastrous trip to Disney World years ago that also ended up in an ambulance ride.
It's a very clever narrative tool by Proby to remind the reader that they have been functioning as a tight family unit for a very long time, long before the romance ever started.
Ryker is just terrified in that hospital waiting room. He finally realizes just how deeply he loves this teenager. He actually breaks down and tells Willow if anything happened to him.
It permanently cements the bond between the two men. Aiden isn't just Willow's annoying nephew anymore.
No.
He is Riker's son in absolutely every way that matters.
And to tie up the loose ends, we also get the final resolution with Andy the agent.
Because of course Andy is behind it.
It turns out Andy is the one who maliciously leaked the private ranch address online, which is what led those college kids to trespass in the first place.
And Ryker completely stops being nice.
He destroys him.
He uses the full massive weight of the Seattle Blizzard's corporate legal team to just absolutely crush Andy.
It is so deeply satisfying to watch him use his immense power and wealth for protection instead of just letting people profit off him.
Andy actually goes to jail.
Good riddance. Aiden's shoulder is healing up nicely.
Yeah.
And we finally get to the peaceful resolution of the story. They officially settle down. Aiden is thriving. He's enrolled in school in Paradise Valley.
It is the ultimate realization of the dream that Ray originally had for those broken boys back in the prologue.
Yeah, it really comes full circle.
The Hell House boys have finally officially built a permanent safe haven. They successfully broke the cycle of abuse.
It's so heartwarming. And, as a treat, we get an epilogue, set exactly 1 year later.
It's the wedding day.
Willow and Ryker are getting married. And the three amigos are finally all back together in one place permanently.
Because Gideon has officially retired from the Secret Service due to the permanent damage from his leg injury, and he announces he plans to build a house right on the lake at the ranch.
Which, very conveniently, sets us up absolutely perfectly for the next book in the series, Safekeeping.
Right, the source text actually includes a very juicy teaser chapter for it.
It does. We get a brief glimpse of Lena, the president's daughter, who Gideon took the bullet for.
It is a very tantalizing setup. We immediately learn that there is a lot of complicated history between Lena and Gideon.
She has this line where she casually mentions, "Only one of my bodyguards has ever been hot,
Yeah.
and he hasn't worked for me for years."
Oh, the tension is already there.
So spicy. And the teaser strongly implies that Lena unexpectedly witnesses a murder or some kind of violent attack at her art gallery, and all her trauma comes rushing back.
So Gideon is inevitably going to have to go right back into protector mode for her.
I honestly cannot wait for that deep dive. It's going to be so good.
But just bringing it back to Safe Haven for a moment, when we pull back and look at the full arc of this novel, it's really a story about the profound transition of personal identity.
How so?
Ryker has to stop being the GOAT, the superstar athlete, so he can become a grounded partner and a father.
Right.
Willow has to stop being the struggling, fiercely independent single aunt and allow herself to become a partner who is finally supported and cared for.
And Aiden has to stop being the angry, abandoned kid and accept that he is now part of a lasting legacy.
Exactly. The Triple Creek Ranch really becomes a living character in itself. It acts as this crucible for generational healing.
Ray's one rule about absolute respect just echoes through every single interaction they have.
So let's wrap this deep dive up with a big question for the listeners. Why does a story like this actually stick with you?
Yeah, why do we care so much about a retired hockey player and a voice actor hanging out in Montana?
I think it resonates so deeply with readers because of the sheer power of the found family trope. It heavily validates the idea that we can actively choose our people.
We aren't stuck with a family we are born into.
Right. Ryker, Gideon, Willow, and even Aiden, they are all broken in very different painful ways. They all have these sharp, jagged edges from their pasts.
But when you put them all together, they form a puzzle that is completely whole.
Exactly. The narrative tells us that you are absolutely not defined by where you come from. Whether it's a terrifying hell house or a neglectful mother, you are entirely defined by who you choose to stand beside and protect.
It's a beautiful message. It really is. And I think it actively challenges the modern notion of what success is supposed to look like.
How's
Well, Ryker willingly leaves the massive spotlight. He walks away from millions of adoring fans, the adrenaline of the game, the huge paychecks,
He gives it all up.
and he trades it all in just for the privilege of fixing broken fences and trying to raise an angry teenager. And the book firmly tells us, this right here, this is the better life.
That is a fascinating point, and it actually brings us perfectly to our final thought.
Let's hear it.
We all tend to severely glamorize the hustle, right?
Constantly.
The high-stakes career, the fame, climbing the ladder. But Riker James walked away from literally all of it just to go home. So here is the question for you listening today to mull over on your own. Is it harder to leave a massive high-stakes life for a quiet one? Or is the quiet life actually the one with the highest stakes imaginable, simply because that is where your heart actually lives?
Man, that is the question, isn't it? Because when you fail on the ice, you just lose a hockey game. But when you fail at the ranch, you lose your entire family. The stakes have literally never been higher for Ryker James. And in the end, he won the only championship that actually mattered.
Beautifully said.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive into Safe Haven. We will definitely see you next time as we jump into Gideon's story.
See you then.